Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Paul with Spheric Reptiles, and I'm coming back to you today with yet another video on, what we should do, First of all, we should all be thinking whenever we go out and we buy anything, right? So, as you guessed it, how to buy a ball python, it's kind of cliche, right? Everybody thinks that they know how to buy stuff because I shop on Amazon or I shop at Walmart. Shit, I know what to do. I know how to buy everything and anything, but the truth of the matter is that there is a lot of purchases that are made on ball pythons without any thought. And I mean, that's great. I mean, if you definitely want to just throw your money out there and buy things without thought, that's great. But what I would suggest is this. Basically, I'm putting this video out so that I can stop some of the impulse buying. So, because whenever you go to buy a ball python, that's something that can live for about 30 years. So you want to impulse buy a 30-year? I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, you can do it, but I can understand why, because if you look on YouTube, or it's pretty much just on YouTube, because on Instagram, everybody just shows good stuff, right? And on TikTok, they show just good stuff, which is great. Facebook, totally different. You might catch some good, catch some bad, who knows? But pretty much this is the way it goes, So when you look at YouTube, you see sellers, and sellers are saying, oh, be respectful of the seller. Don't ask questions if you're not going to buy and things like that. But the buyers are like, hey, I didn't even want a snake to begin with, but now I do. So I shouldn't ask questions. I shouldn't ask for photos. I shouldn't ask what it's eating. I mean, come on, man. I mean, real talk, man. If anybody's selling ball pythons or anything out here and they don't want anybody to ask for pictures, they don't want anybody asking for, photos or anything like that, why are you selling them? Just keep them for yourself. I mean, because at the end of the day, if you're raising ball pythons to sell, then you got to think that there's going to be a buyer that doesn't know anything about ball pythons, and they've done just a little bit of research. So, and I'm not saying that either one's wrong. I'm just saying that, it's always a buyer's market. I mean, so, but hey, let me get to this. So, because I can rant all day about that, and I hate ranting because it's a waste of time. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. So, if I say this, all right, the first thing you need to do when you just on how to buy a ball python is research. Research the different pattern morphs. So if you just run out and you buy a normal ball python, but then you see an albino and you say, ooh, I want that one. And then you see tri-stripe and you say, ooh, I want that one. Or you see a desert ghost and ooh, I want that one. Which snake do you really want? I mean, unless you plan on breeding them, how many snakes do you really want? And there are some people that have collections from things that they just really want. They never anticipate on breeding. That's how I used to be when I was in my when I was in my early 20s and 30s. I just had reptiles. I mean, I didn't even consider the breeding market. But again, research the pattern morph so that you can choose the exact one you want. So I'm not saying that Morph Market is the only place to look for a snake. You can search individual websites and things like that. But go on Morph Market, look at all of the different traits for the ball pythons, and then see which one that you really want. Make you a top 5 or maybe even a top 10, and then dwindle it down. And then there's shows pretty much everywhere. If you don't want to buy it online, you can definitely go to a show if it's in your area, and you can actually find probably the ball python that you want. But the second thing you need to do is you need to look at the habitat that they're from, which is West Africa. Central, you're talking about the northern part of Africa. So central to Western Africa. And so you need to look at housing them in a kind of way that's similar to that. So, and you also need to look at the cost. Look at the cost of what is it going to cost me to keep this ball python for the year. I mean, you have to buy rodents, so you got to say, all right, can I feed a live rodent if my animal doesn't like frozen thawed? If it eats frozen thawed, you're fucking great. You are great. And the best thing about it is that you can do all of this before you even purchase it. So guys, the internet is marvelous. So one of the things that you should do is if you're buying something like, for instance, on Morph Market, and I'll put a link to Morph Market since I'm giving them a shout out. I ain't getting nothing from them, but I'm just giving them a shout out because Morph Market is a great platform. what you need to do is get as much information from the sellers as possible, no matter what. You know, if they don't want to sell you a snake because you're asking questions, then you probably shouldn't buy a snake from them anyway. But the first thing you need to do is ask, all right, so when was the date of birth and how much did it weigh? That's one question. That's a very good question. And then now you ask, hey, can I get a current photo and the weight of the animal right now? And what that'll do is that'll tell you whether this breeder is feeding her animal effectively, because ball pythons should be growing about 60 to 80 grams a month when they're born, like from hatchling to the time you get them. And if they're not growing that fast, guys, it's probably a problem eater. So do you want a problem? And you can just prevent that all the way together if you just ask those questions. The next thing you should ask is, what's the prey size that you're feeding and the frequency? And also ask if they're feeding the animal in the daytime or at night, because ball pythons are notoriously nocturnal, so sometimes it helps if you feed them at night, but check with that breeder. And lastly, what type of rodent are they feeding? So are they feeding a mouse? Are they feeding a rat? Are they feeding an African soft fur? Those are 3 different types of rodents that the ball pythons can gain an affinity to if they're fed. So if an animal's given an African soft fur, which is native to West Africa, so that's in their biology, then that animal might not want your Norwegian rat or your mouse. And then you'll be thinking, man, what am I doing? I'm doing everything right. I got the enclosure, I got the hides, I got all this stuff. Just ask the questions up front, so that way you can set yourself up for success. Now, that's what you can do, and other than negotiating the price and things like that. But with that part, I would say be respectful of the seller. With the market like it is now, the prices are already down pretty low. You can get a very, very fantastic animal for a little or no money. So let's see. In person. So you go to a show, reptile show, and you're fired up, you know what pattern morph you want, rah, let's go get it. You probably have an idea as to who's the seller is, because a lot of these reptile expos or these conferences, they give you a list of all of the breeders and the vendors that are going to be there. So you've done a little research and you're great, you're fired up, you know what you want, you're running in there, doing all these things. But so what should you do? So you should still ask those same questions. When was it born? How much did it weigh? What do you think the weight is now? And you might not be able to get those questions answered, but always ask the feeding schedule and what type of rodent that it's eating. Because that's still important, because when you see this ball python, it's going to either be a hatchling, a subadult, or an adult. I mean, those are the only 3 sizes you can get, right? More than likely, you're going to see a hatchling because it's easier to transport them. They fit better into the display cases and things like that. So, now you have the snake in your hand. You're holding your snake. So what's the very next thing you should do? Check the eyes, the nose, and the mouth to see if the eyes are clear, if the nose is free of mucus. Check the inside of the mouth to make sure that the snake has all of its teeth. Make sure you don't see any mucus or pus coming out of the mouth. And then I want you to feel the body girth of the snake. Does it feel like a muscular snake? Does the animal feel healthy? I mean, we all know a healthy animal when we see it. You don't want to go to a show, or you never really want to get an emaciated animal that's been, off of feed and dehydrated, and then bring them home and think that you're going to have success, because you're probably not. You might, but I'm just saying the odds are not in your favor. So, and the last thing is check the cloaca so that you can make sure that there's no blistering or any red marks or anything like that around the cloaca. And, just really hold the snake and get a good feel for it. Now, some snakes might be a little flighty, so they might actually strike, but that's nothing bad in a ball python. So, hey guys, I love snakes, I love reptiles, and I just really want you to have success, especially when it comes to buying something like a ball python, because those are the majority of the reptiles that are being sold right now. And, if nothing else, guys, please smash the like and subscribe button and comment and let me know what you think about this video, because I don't know if I'm coming off as too strong or, not strong enough. So I would definitely appreciate your comments. And until next time, guys, have a great one.